The bitter Wyoming winter wind didn't just howl, it screamed. It sounded like a wounded animal, a predator, and it clawed at Willa Knight as she fought her way down the snow-choked trail. Ahead, just barely visible, were the fading lights of Timber Creek. They seemed a million miles away. Her arms were numb, just dead weight. She was carrying her son, Thomas, only 3 months old. He was wailing, a pitiful, thin sound that the wind snatched right out of the air. His tiny face was bright red, burned by the cold, even though she'd wrapped him in every blanket she owned. The blizzard had come from nowhere. It had caught them on the trail, turning a simple day's journey into a desperate fight for their lives. "Hush now, Tommy," Willa whispered, but her voice cracked. The words just disappeared. She kept walking, trudging. "We're almost there, just a little farther." She couldn't feel her toes anymore, not for the last hour. The year was 1878, and Willa Knight was completely, terrifyingly alone. Her husband, Jacob, was gone. A fever had taken him just 6 weeks after their son was born. He'd left her with nothing but a mountain of debts and a tiny rented cabin on the edge of Laramie. She had nowhere to go, so she sold what little they had, a few sticks of furniture, Jacob's tools. It was just enough for a passage to Timber Creek. Her late mother's cousin lived there. It was her only hope. But the stagecoach broke. An axle snapped clean in two, 10 miles from town. The driver had promised to send help. He'd taken a horse and ridden into the storm. That was hours ago. Hours. And now, darkness had fallen like a shroud. The temperature had cratered. And Tommy's cries, they were getting weaker. Willa's heart seized, pure terror. She knew what it meant. She knew what happens when babies stop crying in the cold. "Please, God," she prayed, her teeth chattering so hard she could barely form the words. "Just let us make it to town." And as if in answer, a shape, a dim shadow emerged from the curtain of white. A rider. The horse and rider moved slowly, fighting the same wind that was trying to rip Willa from her feet. "Hello there," a deep voice called out. The sound was rough, but strong. "Are you from the stagecoach?" "Yes," Willa cried, but her voice was a shredded whisper. "Please, please help us." The rider dismounted. He was a tall man, bundled in a heavy sheepskin coat. He moved toward her carefully. Willa could just make out a rugged face under the brim of his snow-dusted hat. His eyes, when they saw the bundle in her arms, went wide. "Madam," he asked, and his voice wasn't just concerned, it was shocked. "What in tarnation are you doing out here with a little one?" "The stagecoach," Willa explained, her lips so numb it was hard to talk. "It broke down. The driver, he went for help. He never came back." Tommy let out another cry. It was weaker this time. A tiny, gasping sound. The stranger's expression turned grave. He looked from Willa's face, blue with cold, to the baby. "Your baby is crying in the cold," he said, his breath pluming in the air. It wasn't a question. It was a verdict. Then he said 5 words that changed everything. "Give him here. I'll keep him warm." Willa froze. Her every instinct screamed, "No, you don't give your child to a stranger." But desperation was a cold, hard fist in her gut. She looked at Tommy's face. He was fading. She knew with chilling certainty that her son would die right here in her arms if she didn't do something. With hands that shook so badly she could barely move them, she passed Tommy to the stranger. The man acted fast. He unbuttoned his heavy coat, creating a warm, dark space. He tucked the baby securely against his own chest. Then he rebuttoned the heavy sheepskin around them both. "The little fellow will be warm now," he said, and his voice was gentle. "Name's Wade Zimmerman. I own the Double Z Ranch, just outside Timber Creek. I was in town when word came about the stage." Willa, Willa Knight, she managed. And that's Thomas. Wade nodded. He was studying her, her pale face, the blue tinge to her lips. You're half frozen yourself, Mrs. Knight, he said. Can you ride? Willa nodded weakly. She wasn't sure if it was true, but she'd die trying. Good, Wade said. He guided her to his horse. I'll get you up first, then I'll hand you the baby and climb up behind you. He was surprisingly gentle for a man his size. He helped Willa onto the horse. Her legs felt like wood. Then, carefully, he transferred the warm bundle of Tommy back into her arms. He mounted behind her. He wrapped one strong arm around her waist, holding her steady. He took the reins with his free hand. Lean back against me, he instructed. Share my warmth. Town's about 2 miles ahead. Too exhausted to argue, Willa did exactly as she was told. She sagged back against his solid chest. The warmth was immediate. Tommy, tucked between them, had quieted, soothed by the heat from Wade's body and the steady rhythm of the horse. Thank you, she whispered, her voice failing. You saved our lives. Just doing what any decent man would, Wade replied, and he urged his horse forward, back into the swirling white. As they rode, Willa started to drift, in and out of consciousness, the warmth of Wade's body, the steady plodding of the horse. It was lulling her into a sleep she knew she might not wake up from. Mrs. Knight, Wade's voice cut right through the haze. Willa, you need to stay awake. His voice was firm, demanding. Talk to me. About what? She murmured, her head lolling. Tell me why you're heading to Timber Creek, he suggested. His breath was warm against her ear. My mother's cousin, Willa forced the words out. Her lips were cracked. Martha Holloway, she lives there. She's all the family I have left. She managed to get the rest out. My husband died. We lost everything. Wade's arm tightened around her waist, just slightly. I'm sorry to hear that, he said. Martha Holloway, you say? Willa nodded weakly. Do you know her? There was a pause, just long enough for Willa to notice it. When Wade responded, his voice was neutral. Too neutral. I know of her, he said. Timber Creek isn't a large place. Something in his tone. Something wrong. It made Willa want to ask more, but a sudden, brutal gust of wind cut through her like a knife. She shuddered violently, a full-body tremor. We're almost there, Wade assured her. His voice was close. He pushed the horse to move faster. Just hold on a little longer. And then, the lights weren't fading anymore. They were growing. The lights of Timber Creek, golden beacons of warmth in the white hellscape. Willa clutched Tommy, relief so strong it almost made her pass out. They reached the edge of town. Wade guided his horse down the main street. Storefronts were dark, buried in snow. He stopped at a 2-story building. A sign read, Timber Creek Hotel. A few windows glowed. The hotel's the warmest place in town, Wade explained, reining his horse to a stop. And they'll have hot food. He dismounted. Fast. He reached up to help Willa down. The moment her feet touched the ground, her legs buckled. They were gone. But Wade caught her. One strong arm held her up, the other supporting Tommy. Easy now, he murmured. Just then the hotel door creaked open. An elderly man peered out, holding a lantern high. Wade, that you? It's me, Hank, Wade called back. I found survivors from the stagecoach, a woman and her baby. They're half frozen. Good Lord, Hank exclaimed. He hurried down the steps. Bring them in. Bring them in. Between the two men, they half-carried Willa and Tommy inside. Into the lobby. A fire. A massive fire blazed in the hearth. Willa could have wept at the sight. The warmth was a physical thing, hitting her face. "Mabel!" Hank yelled toward the back. "Get hot broth, tea, warm blankets, now!" A plump, gray-haired woman appeared, her hands flying to her mouth. "Oh, you poor things. You poor, poor things. Come by the fire." Wade led Willa to a chair right by the hearth. He was still supporting most of her weight. "Sit down before you fall down, Mrs. Knight." Willa collapsed into the chair. Her arms were still locked around Tommy. He'd fallen into a deep, exhausted sleep. Mabel hurried over with a stack of thick, wool blankets. She tucked them around mother and child, her hands efficient and kind. "Let me take a look at that little one," Mabel said gently. With fingers that felt like clumsy blocks of wood, Willa unwrapped just enough of Tommy's blankets for Mabel to see his face. The older woman studied him. Her brow was furrowed. Then she smiled. "His color's good," she pronounced. "He's a strong little fellow. You got to him in time." Willa's eyes filled with tears, hot tears of relief. "Thank you. Thank Mr. Zimmerman. He saved us." Wade had been speaking quietly with Hank by the door. He turned. "Anyone would have done the same, Mrs. Knight. Not everyone would have ridden out in that blizzard to look for strangers," Mabel countered. She gave Wade a nod, an approving nod. "You're a good man, Wade Zimmerman." A hint of color touched Wade's weathered cheeks. He cleared his throat. I should see to my horse," he said. He was clearly uncomfortable. "I'll be back shortly." As Wade left, Mabel brought a cup of steaming tea. She held it to Willa's lips. "Drink, dear. It'll warm you from the inside." Willa sipped, gratefully. The hot liquid spread through her frozen body, and as sensation returned, so did the pain. Her feet, her hands, her face, they burned. "There now," Mabel soothed, noticing Willa's wince. "The pain means you're warming up. That's a good sign." Willa took a few more sips. Her mind was starting to clear. "I need to find Martha Holloway," she said. Her voice was stronger. "She's my mother's cousin. She doesn't know we're coming, but I hope she'll take us in." Silence. Mabel and Hank exchanged a quick glance. It was so fast, Willa almost missed it. But she didn't, and it made her heart stop. "What is it?" Willa asked. Her voice was small. Has something happened to Martha?" Hank cleared his throat. He wouldn't meet her eyes. He looked at the floor. "Mrs. Holloway. She passed away last fall, madam. Influenza took her, and several others in town." The words didn't make sense. Passed away. Passed away. Willa felt the floor drop out from under her. Martha, her only hope, her only connection, her only plan. Gone. I didn't know," Willa whispered. She looked down at Tommy's sleeping face. We have nowhere to go." Now," Mabel said quickly. She patted Willa's hand. "Don't you worry about that tonight. You'll stay here. You'll get warmed up, rested." She forced a smile. Things always look better in the morning light. The hotel door opened, bringing in another blast of icy air. Wade returned, stomping snow from his boots. He took one look at Willa's stricken expression and crossed the room in 3 strides. "What's happened?" "Mrs. Knight just learned that her relative, Martha Holloway, passed away," Hank explained. His voice was quiet. Wade's expression, it softened. Understanding, concern. "I'm sorry to hear that, Mrs. Knight. Truly, I am." Willa just nodded. She was too overwhelmed to speak. Tommy stirred in her arms. He made a small, hungry sound. "Oh, the little one needs feeding," Mabel observed. "Come, dear. I'll show you to a room. You can have some privacy. You can rest. We can talk more in the morning." Willa rose. Her legs were shaky, but they held. She clutched Tommy to her chest. She turned to Wade. He was watching her, just watching her, with those intense blue eyes. "I don't know how to thank you, Mr. Zimmerman," she said softly. "You saved our lives tonight." Wade shook his head. "No thanks necessary, madam. I'm just glad I found you when I did." He hesitated. "I'll come by tomorrow," he added. "See how you're faring, if that's all right." I would appreciate that," Willa replied. And she was surprised by how much she meant it. As Mabel led her toward the stairs, Willa glanced back. Just once. The tall cowboy was still standing by the fire, watching her go. And despite everything, the cold, the exhaustion, the devastating world-ending news about Martha, Willa felt a strange, tiny flutter. Something that almost felt like hope. Mabel showed Willa to a small room. It was clean, a narrow bed, a rocking chair. A fire was already crackling in the small fireplace, filling the room with a blessed, welcome warmth. "There's a wash basin with warm water," Mabel said, pointing to a table. "And I'll bring up some broth and bread for you, once you've fed the little one." "Thank you," Willa said. She sank into the rocking chair. She felt like she could sleep for a year. "I don't know what I would have done without your kindness tonight." "Nonsense," Mabel replied, but her smile was warm. "That's how we survive out here. We help each other. Now you rest. We'll sort everything else out tomorrow." Mabel left, closing the door softly. Willa was alone. She unbuttoned her dress to feed Tommy. Her mind was whirling. Fear, uncertainty. Without Martha, she had no plan. She had no resources. She had nowhere to go. The money she had, the money from selling everything, it would barely last a week at this hotel. "What are we going to do, little one?" she whispered to Tommy as he nursed. "Where will we go?" Tommy, oblivious, just nursed contentedly. Willa stroked his soft cheek, his tiny features. They looked so much like Jacob. Grief tightened her throat. Jacob, gone too soon. He never even got to know his son. A soft knock at the door. "Just a minute," she called, quickly buttoning her dress. "Come in." Mabel entered. She was carrying a tray, a bowl of steaming broth, thick slices of bread, a pot of tea. "How's the little lamb?" she asked, setting the tray on a table. "Better," Willa said, managing a tired smile. "Now that he's warm and fed, thank you for the food. I didn't realize how hungry I was." "Eat up," Mabel encouraged. "And there's something else I wanted to tell you." Mabel hesitated. She wrung her hands in her apron. "I don't want you worrying about a place to stay. Hank and we discussed it. You're welcome to remain here, until you get on your feet." Willa's eyes widened. That's incredibly kind, but I couldn't impose." "It's no imposition," Mabel interrupted, firmly. "We have plenty of room. Especially in winter, we get fewer travelers. And, to be honest, I could use some help around the place. My joints aren't what they used to be." Willa's head snapped up. "I'd be happy to work," she said. Quickly. The relief was so strong it made her dizzy. "Work for my keep. I can cook, I can clean, whatever you need." Mabel nodded, an approving nod. "We'll work it all out tomorrow," she said. "For now, eat and rest. You've had quite an ordeal." After Mabel left, Willa devoured the simple meal. She hadn't eaten since early yesterday morning. Her hunger was a gnawing pit. With her belly full and Tommy sleeping peacefully in her arms, the exhaustion finally won. It crashed over her like a wave. She barely managed to place Tommy in the center of the bed. She surrounded him with pillows. Then she collapsed beside him, fully dressed, and fell into a deep, black, dreamless sleep. The sound of Tommy's hungry cries woke her. Sunlight, Sunlight was streaming through the window. Willa sat up, disoriented. The world outside was transformed. Snow, piles of it, glittering like diamond dust in the morning light. After feeding and changing Tommy, Willa washed her face. The water in the basin was ice cold. She smoothed her wrinkled dress. She tried to tame her hair into a bun. She wished desperately for a change of clothes. Her trunk, all their belongings, still on the broken stagecoach. Another knock. It was Mabel. She had a fresh pot of hot water and a bundle of clothing. "Good morning, dear," she greeted, cheerful. "I brought you some clean things. They were my daughter's, before she married and moved to Denver. They might be a bit large, but they'll do until your own things arrive." "Has someone gone for the stagecoach?" Willa asked. "Indeed," Mabel confirmed. Wade, and a few other men. They rode out at first light. They should be back by midday, weather permitting." Willa felt it again, that surprising little flutter, the mention of his name. "He's a very kind man," Willa said, trying to sound casual. "One of the best," Mabel agreed. And then her eyes twinkled, knowingly. "Never married, though. Many have tried to catch his eye. Keeps to himself, mostly. Runs that big ranch with just a few hands." Mabel leaned in a bit. "But there's not a more respected man in Timber Creek, or a more feared one, by some." Willa didn't know what to make of that, nor why Mabel seemed so eager to share it. She busied herself with the dress, a simple blue calico. "Come down when you're ready," Mabel said, heading for the door. "Breakfast is waiting, and there are a few folks who'd like to meet you." 30 minutes later, Willa came downstairs. Tommy was cradled in one arm. The borrowed dress fit, mostly. The hotel's dining room was about half full. The moment she entered, the conversation stopped. Dead. All eyes turned to her. "Ah, here she is," Hank called from behind the counter. "Our survivor from the blizzard." Willa blushed. Mabel quickly ushered her to a table. An older gentleman in a suit and a middle-aged woman in a sensible brown dress were already seated. "Willa, this is Dr. Porter, and Mrs. Henderson, our schoolteacher," Mabel introduced. "How are you feeling, Mrs. Knight?" Dr. Porter asked. His eyes were kind but assessing, professional. "Any numbness? Lingering effects?" I'm much better, thank you," Willa assured him. "Just tired." "And the baby?" Mrs. Henderson inquired. She leaned forward, peeking at Tommy's face. "Perfectly fine," Willa said, a real smile this time. "Thanks to Mr. Zimmerman." And as if summoned, the hotel door opened. Wade Zimmerman entered. He removed his hat, stomping snow from his boots. Snow dusted his shoulders. He'd ridden hard. His gaze swept the room. It landed on Willa, and his expression, it was relief, pure relief. "Mrs. Knight," he greeted. He crossed to her table. "You're looking much better this morning." "Thanks to your timely rescue," she replied. Did you find the stagecoach?" Wade nodded. "We did. Your trunk and other belongings are being brought to town as we speak." He paused. "The driver. He made it to the Marshall Ranch. About 5 miles from where we found you. He was in no condition to head back out." "I'm just grateful he's safe," Willa said. "And that you came looking for us." Wade's expression softened. He looked at Tommy. Tommy was awake now, his wide eyes taking in the new room. "How's the little fellow today?" "Much happier," Willa smiled. "Now that he's warm and fed." And then, surprising even herself, she asked, Would you like to hold him?" The request surprised him. She could see it. But something about the way he'd cared for Tommy in the storm. She trusted him, implicitly. Wade looked startled, but he nodded. "If you're sure." Willa carefully passed Tommy to Wade. He cradled the infant with a surprising ease. A man that large, that strong. Tommy looked tiny in his arms, but he seemed perfectly content. He reached up with a tiny, curious finger and grabbed at Wade's beard. "He's got a strong grip," Wade commented. And he smiled, a real smile. It transformed his serious face. "He does," Willa agreed. She watched them. A warm feeling spread through her chest. "He's always been a fighter. Mrs. Knight was just telling us," Dr. Porter said, breaking the moment, "about her unfortunate discovery regarding her cousin." "A terrible shame about Martha," Mrs. Henderson added. "She was a fine woman." Wade's smile vanished. His expression grew serious again. He gently handed Tommy back to Willa. "Yes," he said. His voice was low. "She was. The whole town felt her loss." "Did you know her well?" Willa asked. Wade's eyes met hers. "Well enough," he replied. "She was a good neighbor. Her property, it adjoins mine. To the east." "Her property," Willa repeated, confused. I thought, I assumed it would have been sold. After her death." An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Dr. Porter cleared his throat. "Actually, Mrs. Knight, to my knowledge, Martha's affairs have not yet been fully settled." He looked at Wade. "She had no immediate family, not that anyone here knew of." "Except for me," Willa said slowly. The realization was dawning. "And my mother, who passed away 3 years ago." Mrs. Henderson leaned forward. Her eyes were wide. Are you saying you might be Martha Holloway's heir?" I don't know," Willa admitted. "The idea was staggering. I never considered it. I only knew. She was my mother's cousin. When we needed somewhere to go, she was the only person I could think of." Dr. Porter exchanged a sharp glance with Wade. "This is most interesting," the doctor said. "You should speak with Judge Wilson. He's been handling Martha's estate. He returns next week." Willa was overwhelmed. Could it be possible? Could she inherit Martha's property? It seemed too impossible, too convenient. "I wouldn't get your hopes too high," Wade cautioned. His voice was gentle, as if he was reading her mind. "Legal matters can be complicated, especially out here." He paused. "But it's certainly worth looking into." Willa nodded, grateful for his practical, steadying words. "Of course, I don't expect anything. I'm just thankful to have a roof over our heads, thanks to Mabel and Hank." "Speaking of which," Wade said, turning to Hank, "I was thinking it might be good for Mrs. Knight to see Martha's place, get a sense of her cousin's life at least." He looked back at Willa. "I could take you out there. Today, if the weather holds." Hank nodded. "Good idea, Wade. The road should be passable by midday." That's very kind of you, Mr. Zimmerman," Willa said. "But I wouldn't want to impose." "It's no imposition," Wade assured her. "I need to check the fences on that side of my property anyway. And Martha's place, it should be looked in on, especially after a storm." There was something in his tone, a hint of something. Protectiveness? His expression, though, was unreadable. "Then I accept," she said with a grateful smile. "Thank you." After breakfast, Willa went to her room. Mabel had brought her trunk up. Willa changed into her warmest dress. She wrapped Tommy in layers of blankets. When she came downstairs, Wade was waiting. He was speaking quietly with Hank. He turned as she approached. His expression softened. "I've borrowed Hank's sleigh," he explained. "It'll be more comfortable for you and the baby than riding horseback." "That's thoughtful of you," Willa said. She was touched by his consideration. Outside, the sleigh was waiting, hitched to Wade's sturdy brown horse. He helped Willa and Tommy in. He tucked thick, heavy fur robes around them. Then he took the reins. The day was clear, bright. The storm had blown itself out. The snow-covered world sparkled in the sun. It was beautiful. It's beautiful, Willa breathed. Snow-draped pines, distant mountains. So different from Laramie. Wyoming territory has its own kind of beauty, Wade agreed. His voice held a note of pride. Takes a certain kind of person to appreciate it, especially in winter. How long have you lived here? Willa asked. She was curious about this quiet, capable man. Born and raised, Wade replied. Not far from here. My father started the Double Z, just 50 acres and a dozen head of cattle. I've, expanded it some, since he passed. You must be very proud, Willa observed. Wade nodded. His eyes were on the horizon. It's a good life, a solitary one at times. But the work keeps me busy enough not to notice. There was something in his tone. Loneliness. Willa suspected he would never admit to such a thing. She found herself studying his profile, the strong jaw, the neat beard, the straight nose, the crow's feet at the corners of his eyes. He smiled more than his serious face let on. Tell me about your husband, Wade said suddenly. It broke right into her thoughts. Willa blinked, surprised by the directness. Jacob was a carpenter, she answered. A good one. We met. He came to repair the roof of the boarding house where I worked. He was kind, hard-working. How did he pass, if you don't mind my asking? Fever, Willa said softly. The pain was still fresh. It came on so fast, took him in days. The doctor said there was nothing to be done. I'm sorry, Wade said. His voice was gentle. That's a hard thing, especially with a new baby. It was, Willa agreed. She looked down at Tommy sleeping peacefully in her arms. But we carry on. What else can we do? Wade glanced at her, and there was something in his eyes. Admiration. Indeed, Mrs. Knight, he said. We carry on. They rode in silence for a while, just the crunch of snow, the jingle of the harness. Eventually, Wade pointed, a plume of smoke in the distance. That's my ranch house, he explained, and just over that rise is Martha's place. They crested the hill. A small homestead came into view, a modest cabin, stone chimney standing near a creek, a small barn, a corral. It was well maintained. It didn't look abandoned. It doesn't look abandoned, Willa observed. It's not, Wade replied. Not exactly. I've had my hands check on it. Regularly. Keep the roof clear. Make sure nothing falls into disrepair. He shrugged. Seemed the right thing to do, with Martha having no family present to look after things. This man, this quiet, considerate man. It touched Willa deeply. That's very kind of you. Neighbors look out for each other out here, he said, as if it were nothing. It's how we survive. He brought the sleigh to a stop. He helped Willa down. His strong hands were gentle at her waist. The touch, brief as it was, sent an unexpected warmth through her. I have the key, Wade said. He produced it from his pocket. Martha gave me one, in case of emergencies. He unlocked the door. He stepped aside. He let Willa enter first. The cabin was cold, but not frozen. It was a simple space. One main room, stone fireplace, small kitchen area, a table with 4 chairs. A rocking chair near the hearth. A curtain at the back separated the sleeping area. It's lovely, Willa said softly. She turned in a slow circle. It was modest, but it was well built. It felt comfortable. She could imagine Martha here. I'll get a fire going, Wade offered. He moved to the hearth. Wood was already stacked neatly. It'll warm up quickly. As Wade built the fire, Willa explored. Tommy was still sleeping in her arms, behind the curtain, a neatly made bed, a colorful quilt, a small dresser. On top, a daguerreotype, a simple frame, an older woman, kind eyes, a gentle smile. "Martha," Willa whispered. "She was well respected in town," Wade commented. He'd noticed her looking. Taught school for many years before she retired, never married, but she seemed content. "My mother always spoke fondly of her," Willa said. "They weren't close in age. Martha was much older, but they wrote." Wade nodded. He returned to the fire. It was catching. "The place has good bones," he said. 10 acres, mostly cleared. The creek never runs dry. The soil is rich. Martha, she kept a fine garden." Willa sat in the rocking chair. The fire was sending welcome warmth into the room. "It feels peaceful here." "It is," Wade agreed. He stood to his full height. "Martha loved this place, said it was her little piece of heaven." Looking around, Willa could understand why. After the chaos, the fear, the loss, the thought of a place like this. A home, her own home. It seemed like an impossible dream. "You really think I might have a claim to it?" she asked. Wade leaned against the mantel. His expression was thoughtful. "It's possible, if you're truly her closest living relative. And if she died without a will specifying otherwise, the property would legally pass to you." He met her eyes. "Judge Wilson will know more." Willa nodded. She tried to keep the hope from taking hold. She'd learned how quickly hopes could be dashed. "In the meantime," Wade continued, "you're welcome to visit here, as often as you like. I can bring you out, or arrange for someone else to, if I'm busy." "You've been so kind," Willa said. She met his gaze. "Why? You don't know me at all." The question, so direct, it seemed to take him by surprise. He was silent for a moment. "Out here," he finally said, "we look after those in need. It's how I was raised. How most of us were." He hesitated, then his voice got softer. "And I know what it's like to face an uncertain future, alone." There was a story there. Willa could feel it, but before she could ask, Tommy woke. A hungry cry, sharp and sudden. It ended the conversation. As Willa soothed her son, Wade moved to the window. He gave her privacy while still being in the room. "We should head back," he said, gazing out at the snow. "Before too long. The days are short, and I'd rather not be on the road after dark." "Of course," Willa agreed. She adjusted her clothing after feeding Tommy. "Thank you for bringing me here. It means a great deal, to see where she lived." Wade nodded. He turned back to face her. His expression was unreadable again. "It's a good place," he said quietly. "For a fresh start. If things work out that way." Something in his tone. It made Willa's heart beat a little faster. Before she could respond, he moved to the door. "I'll check on the horse while you finish up with the little one." Left alone, Willa looked around. The handmade curtains, the books on a shelf, the cushion on the rocking chair. It was a home. "Could this be ours, Tommy?" she whispered. "Could we be so fortunate?" Tommy gazed up at her. He had Jacob's eyes, his tiny hand curled around her finger. Willa knew, whatever happened, she would do anything to provide a safe home for her son. When they left, Wade locked the door, carefully. "We'll come back again," he promised. He helped her into the sleigh. He tucked the furs around her and Tommy. "Perhaps next time, we can bring some supplies, stay longer, get the place properly warmed up." Willa smiled at the thought. "I'd like that." The journey back was peaceful. Tommy slept. The landscape was painted in the gold of the setting sun. Wade pointed out landmarks, the ridge where his cattle grazed, the stream that fed the creek, the stand of pines where deer gathered at dusk. As they approached Timber Creek, Willa felt reluctant. She didn't want the journey to end. There was something comforting about Wade's steady presence, his deep voice describing the land he loved. Will you join us for dinner at the hotel?" The question was impulsive. It just came out. Wade looked surprised, but pleased. "I'd be honored, Mrs. Knight, though I should probably clean up a bit first." "Of course," Willa agreed. "Perhaps an hour from now?" She smiled. "And please, call me Willa. After saving our lives, I think we're well past formalities." A small smile curved Wade's lips. "Willa, it is. And I'm Wade." He delivered her safely to the hotel, helped her from the sleigh. That same gentle care. "I'll see you in an hour," he promised. Upstairs, Willa found herself humming. She washed Tommy, changed him. She took extra care with her own appearance. She pinned her hair more carefully. She put on the small pearl earrings, her mother's, one of the few things she hadn't sold. "We look quite presentable, don't we, Tommy?" she asked his reflection in the small mirror. Tommy gurgled. Willa chose to take that as a yes. When she descended an hour later, Wade was waiting. He'd changed into a clean shirt. His hair was combed. He stood as she approached. Willa was struck again. His height, his broad shoulders. "You look lovely," he said simply. He pulled out her chair. "Thank you," Willa replied. She felt a blush warm her cheeks. "And thank you, again, for today, seeing Martha's cabin. It gave me hope, for the first time in months." Wade's expression softened. "Hope is a powerful thing," he said. "Sometimes it's all that gets us through." Dr. Porter joined them. He asked about their visit. As they discussed the cabin, other diners stopped by. They introduced themselves. Willa was overwhelmed. In Laramie, after Jacob's death, she had been so isolated. Here, everyone seemed genuinely interested in her. In Tommy. "People are kind here," she observed to Wade after an elderly couple had invited her to Sunday services. "It's a good community," Wade agreed. "Small enough that we all know each other, large enough to have what we need." He paused. "Most folks came here looking for a fresh start, of one kind or another." "And you?" Willa asked. "Were you looking for a fresh start when you took over your father's ranch?" Wade considered it. "In a way," he said. "I'd been working cattle drives, Wyoming to Montana, for years. Hard, dangerous work. Kept me away for months. When my father's health began to fail, it was time to put down roots." "Do you ever miss it?" Willa wondered. "The adventure?" A small smile tugged at Wade's lips. "Sometimes, but I found there's adventure enough in building something lasting." He winked. "And far less chance of being trampled by a stampede." The dry humor surprised a laugh out of Willa. "I suppose that's an advantage." Their conversation, it just flowed. They talked about ranching. They talked about Willa's life before Laramie, when she'd been a school teacher in Ohio. "You were a teacher?" Wade asked. He leaned forward, interested. "Mrs. Henderson, she mentioned just yesterday. Timber Creek. We're in need of a second teacher. The town's growing. She can't manage all the children alone." Willa's heart leapt. Do you really think they might consider me?" "I don't see why not," Wade replied. "You have the experience, and you enjoyed the work, you said." "I loved it," Willa admitted. "But I gave it up when I married Jacob. He He felt it was important for a wife to focus on the home. Something flashed in Wade's eyes, disapproval. But he just said, different men have different views on such matters. His diplomacy made Willa curious. And what are your views, Wade Zimmerman? He met her gaze, directly. I believe a woman's talents shouldn't be wasted. My mother, she ran our household, kept the ranch books, and helped with calving season. My father, he valued her contributions in all areas. It's what made their partnership work. Willa, she warmed to that. Jacob had been a good man, but his traditional views, they had sometimes chafed. I should speak with Mrs. Henderson, Willa said thoughtfully. Even if things work out with Martha's property, I'll need an income to support Tommy and myself. A wise approach, Wade approved. And the school. It's only in session on weekdays. It would leave you weekends, summers, to tend to the property. He was already thinking of solutions, practical solutions. His support. It touched her deeply. You've thought of everything, she said. A grateful smile. Wade shrugged, slightly embarrassed. Just trying to be helpful. It can be overwhelming to start over in a new place. After dinner, they moved to the small sitting room. A fire burned. Tommy had fallen asleep in Willa's arms. He's a good baby, Wade observed. Strong, like his mother. Willa looked up, surprised by the compliment. I don't feel particularly strong most days. Yet here you are, Wade pointed out. You faced loss, hardship, but you haven't given up. You traveled across difficult country, in winter, with an infant, to make a new start. He looked at her. That takes considerable strength, Willa. The way he said her name. It sent a pleasant warmth through her veins. Thank you, she said softly, for seeing me that way. It helps me believe it myself. They sat in silence, just watching the flames. The hotel had grown quiet. I should go, Wade said finally, but he didn't move. It's getting late, and you and Tommy, you need your rest. Yes, Willa agreed, reluctantly. It's been a long day. Wade rose. He helped Willa to her feet, careful not to disturb Tommy. I'll come by tomorrow afternoon, he said. If that's agreeable, perhaps we could visit Mrs. Henderson about the teaching position. I'd appreciate that, Willa said. She was genuinely pleased. He walked her to the stairs. He paused. He seemed to be struggling with what to say. Sleep well, Willa, he finally offered. His voice was low, warm. I'm glad the storm brought you to Timber Creek, though I wish it had been under easier circumstances. So am I, Willa replied. Honestly. Good night, Wade. She climbed the stairs, and she found herself smiling. Despite the uncertainty, despite the grief, for the first time in months, she felt a sense of possibility. And it had everything to do with the tall, steady cowboy who had saved them from the storm. Over the next 2 weeks, a routine settled in. It was comfortable. Each morning, Willa helped Mabel with breakfast. Tommy watched from a basket Hank had made for him. In the afternoons, Willa met with townsfolk. Mrs. Henderson was enthusiastic. She immediately began advocating for Willa. We'll get you hired, officially, once the spring term begins in March. Dr. Porter introduced her to other mothers. A small social circle formed. And Wade came every day, sometimes just for a moment, to check on her, on Tommy. Other times he'd stay for hours. He'd taken her to Martha's cabin twice more. Each time he brought supplies, firewood, preserved foods, and one day, a small cradle. He'd found it in his barn. He'd cleaned it, repaired it. It was Mine. As a baby, he'd explained, sheepishly. My mother, she could never bear to part with it. I found it. After she passed. The gift brought tears to Willa's eyes. The care he'd taken, sanding away the neglect, adding a small mattress. It spoke volumes. As January turned to February, Willa found herself watching for him. Her heart beat faster when she saw his tall figure. It wasn't just gratitude anymore. It was something deeper, something that excited her and frightened her. Just over a month after she'd arrived, Judge Wilson returned. Wade went with her to his office, a small room in the bank. Mrs. Knight, the elderly judge greeted her. I've heard a great deal about you, and this must be young Thomas. Yes, sir, Willa replied. Thank you for seeing us. Of course, of course. Mr. Zimmerman has explained your situation regarding Martha Holloway's property. Yes, Willa confirmed. She was my mother's cousin. As far as I know, I may be her closest living relative. The judge nodded. He pulled a folder from a stack. I've been handling Martha's estate. She was a fine woman. Very methodical. He opened the folder. He scanned a few documents. Martha did indeed leave a will, he said, which simplifies matters considerably. Willa's heart sank. A will. It meant Martha had left the property to someone else. In her will, Judge Wilson continued, Martha specified that her property should pass to her cousin, Sarah Knight, or her descendants. Willa gasped. Sarah Knight was my mother. The judge looked up. His expression brightened. Was she indeed? Well, that settles it, quite neatly. He smiled. As your mother's heir, you would inherit her claim to Martha's property. Are you certain? Willa asked. She hardly dared to believe it. Quite certain, the judge confirmed. He passed her the document. Here is the relevant passage. Martha specifically mentioned Sarah Knight of Ohio and any children she might have. Willa read the words. Her hands were trembling. I can't believe it, she whispered. She remembered my mother, after all these years. Martha never forgot those she cared about, the judge said kindly. Wade, who had been silent, leaned forward. So, there's no question about Willa's claim. None whatsoever, the judge assured them. We'll need to file some paperwork, of course, a small fee for processing the transfer of deed, but the property is rightfully Mrs. Knight's. Willa looked at Wade. Her eyes were shining. Tears of relief. Joy. He smiled warmly at her, a hint of pride in his expression. There's more, the judge added. He returned to the documents. Martha was quite frugal. She managed to save a tidy sum. The amount remaining, after her final expenses, is included in the inheritance. He wrote a figure on a slip of paper. He passed it to Willa. She stared at the number. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough. Enough to repair the cabin. Enough to buy supplies. Enough to see them through until she had a teacher's salary. Enough to give her and Tommy security. I don't know what to say, Willa managed. Martha would be pleased, Judge Wilson said simply. She valued family, knowing her property would pass to her cousin's daughter, and grandson would have given her great comfort. They completed the paperwork. Willa and Wade left the office. They walked in silence. Willa was still absorbing the news. You own a home now, Wade said finally. His voice was gentle. A place of your own. I can hardly believe it, Willa admitted. Just a few weeks ago, I had nothing. Nowhere to go. And now you have a future here, Wade finished for her. A place in the community. Security. For you and Tommy. Willa nodded. She was overcome with emotion. I keep thinking, I'll wake up and discover it was all a dream. Wade stopped walking. He turned to face her. His blue eyes were serious. It's no dream, Willa. You've been given a second chance. Not many get those. The intensity in his gaze, it made her heart skip. I know, she said softly. And I intend to make the most of it. Something shifted in Wade's expression, a softening. There's a town meeting tonight, he said. At the church, they'll be discussing the second teaching position, among other matters. He hesitated. Would you allow me to escort you? The formal phrasing, it made Willa smile. I would like that very much, she replied. Wade nodded, his own lips curved slightly. I'll come by the hotel at 7 then. He turned to leave. Wade, Willa called after him. He looked back. Thank you, she said simply. For everything. His expression warmed. You're welcome, Willa. For everything. That evening, Willa took special care. Her best dress, a deep blue wool, her hair pinned up. Mabel had offered to watch Tommy. Willa gratefully accepted. You look lovely, dear, Mabel commented as Willa came downstairs. Wade has been very kind, Willa said. Kind, yes, Mabel agreed. Her eyes twinkled. But I've known Wade Zimmerman for 15 years, and I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. Before Willa could respond, the door opened. Wade entered. He'd made an effort, too. A crisp white shirt, a dark jacket, his beard trimmed. His eyes found Willa, and the admiration in his gaze. It sent a warm flutter through her. Right on time, Mabel said. You two run along. Tommy and I will be just fine. Outside, the evening was crisp, clear. Wade offered Willa his arm. She took it, the solid warmth of him. It felt right. You look beautiful tonight, Wade said. His voice was sincere. Thank you, Willa replied. You clean up quite nicely yourself. A chuckle rumbled in his chest. High praise. The church was already full, the buzz of conversation. Heads turned as they entered. Together. Willa felt the curious gazes. Wade seemed oblivious. He guided her to an empty pew near the front. Mayor Collins called the meeting to order. Routine updates, road repairs. Then, the school. Mrs. Henderson stood. As many of you know, our town has grown. We now have 28 children of school age. Far too many for one teacher. Murmurs of agreement. I'm pleased to propose we hire a second teacher, beginning with the spring term. And I can think of no one better suited than Mrs. Willa Knight. Mrs. Knight has 5 years of teaching experience. She comes highly recommended. All eyes turned to Willa. She felt her cheeks grow warm. Mrs. Knight, Mayor Collins said, would you be willing to say a few words? Wade gave her arm an encouraging squeeze. Willa stood. She took a deep breath. Thank you, she began. Her voice was steady. I taught at a small school outside Columbus. For 5 years, I instructed children aged 6 to 10 in reading, arithmetic, history. I believe strongly that education is the foundation of a child's future, and I would be honored to contribute to the education of Timber Creek's children. Her words were met with nods. I move that we hire Mrs. Knight, Dr. Porter announced from the back. I second the motion, called another voice. The mayor called for a vote. It was unanimous, just like that. She was employed. Willa sat down, dazed. Wade leaned close. Congratulations, teacher, he whispered. The warmth of his breath against her ear sent a shiver down her spine. Thank you, she whispered back. I can hardly believe it's real. Believe it, he replied. You belong here now. The rest of the meeting was a blur. After, townsfolk crowded around, congratulating her on the job, on the inheritance, welcoming her. Through it all, Wade stayed at her side, a steady, reassuring presence. By the time they left, Willa felt a deep sense of belonging. It's a lot to take in, Wade commented as they walked back. Becoming a property owner, securing employment, all in one day. It is, Willa agreed. A week ago, I was worried about how long my meager savings would last. Now, I have a home, a job. She hesitated. And friends. Wade glanced down at her. You've made quite an impression on folks here. It's not just sympathy. People. They genuinely like you, Willa. His words warmed her. I like them too. Timber Creek. It feels right. As if I was meant to find my way here. Perhaps you were, Wade said quietly. They reached the hotel. Neither seemed eager to end the evening. They paused on the boardwalk. I've been thinking, Wade continued. His voice was hesitant. The cabin, it'll need some work. Before you and Tommy can move in, the roof should be checked, the chimney cleaned, the well tested. He looked at her. I'd be happy to help with those things. That's very kind, Willa said. But I couldn't ask you to take so much time. You didn't ask, Wade pointed out. A small smile. I offered. Besides, I have good men. They can manage things at the ranch for a few days. Willa studied his face, the sincerity in his eyes. Why? She asked softly. Why are you doing all this, Wade? You've already done so much. Wade took a deep breath. Because I care what happens to you both, he said. More than I probably should, given how short a time we've known each other. The admission, it made Willa's heart race. I care about you too, she confessed. Her voice was a whisper. It's unexpected, and perhaps too soon, after Jacob, but I can't deny it. Relief, and something warmer. It flickered in Wade's eyes. I would never rush you, Willa. I know you're still grieving, still finding your way. But I want you to know, I'm here, for whatever you need, for as long as you'll have me around. The tenderness, it nearly undid her. Thank you, she managed. That means more than I can say. For a moment, it seemed he might reach for her hand. Instead, he just nodded, respecting the boundaries. I should let you get back to Tommy, he said. But I'll come by tomorrow, if that's all right. We can make plans for the cabin repairs. I'd like that, Willa smiled. Good night then, Wade said. Sleep well. Good night, Wade. She watched him walk away, and she felt that sense of possibility. The future. It wasn't bleak anymore. It was shimmering. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Wade was true to his word. He devoted days to the cabin. He enlisted his ranch hands. They replaced shingles. They repaired the porch. They cleaned the well. Willa worked alongside them, scrubbing floors, washing windows, airing out bedding. The women from town. They brought things. Curtains, dishes, cooking utensils. By early March, just as Willa was to begin teaching, the cabin was ready. The transformation, it was remarkable. From a lonely, empty dwelling to a warm, welcoming home. I can't believe how different it looks, Willa said to Wade. They were standing in the main room. It was the day before she and Tommy were to move in. It's amazing, Wade replied, what a little care can accomplish. It just needed someone to love it again. Willa walked around the room. I never imagined I could have a place like this, she admitted. After Jacob died, the debts, I thought Tommy and I would be forever dependent on charity. This isn't charity, Wade pointed out, gently. This is yours, by right, Martha. She wanted you to have it. I know, Willa said. She turned to face him. But I wouldn't be standing here now. If not for you, you saved us. You brought us here. You've worked tirelessly. I don't know how I can ever repay such kindness. Wade's expression softened. There's nothing to repay, he said. Seeing you and Tommy, settled, happy, that's all the reward I need. His sincerity, over the weeks of working together. Their attraction had deepened. Wade had been unfailingly respectful, never pushing. But Willa knew, her feelings, they were far beyond gratitude. Will you stay for supper? She asked. I brought supplies. I'd like to cook my first meal in this kitchen. Wade's smile lit his entire face. I'd be honored. Willa prepared a simple meal, salt pork, beans, cornbread. Wade entertained Tommy. The baby was 4 months old now, alert, responsive. He seemed fascinated by Wade's deep voice. He's going to be sitting up on his own before you know it, Wade observed. He's growing so fast, Willa agreed. It seems, just yesterday, he was that tiny, helpless newborn. He's strong, Wade said, an echo of his words from weeks ago. Like his mother. This time, there was a depth of feeling in his voice. Willa felt her cheeks warm. I hope he has his father's gentle heart, too. Jacob was a kind man, Wade nodded, respectfully. I'm sure he was. You wouldn't have loved him otherwise. The simple acknowledgement. No jealousy. He understood. They ate at the table, by lamplight. The March evening was cold, but the cabin was cozy, their conversation easy. After they'd cleaned up, they settled by the fire. Willa in the rocking chair, nursing Tommy. Wade in an armchair he'd brought from his own home. It feels right, Wade said. His gaze was on the domestic scene. You and Tommy, here, in this place. It does, Willa agreed softly. More right than anything has felt in a very long time. Wade's eyes met hers. Something unspoken passed between them. Willa, Wade began. His voice was low, serious. I know it's only been a few weeks, and I know you're still healing from Jacob's loss. But I want you to know my feelings for you. They're genuine and deep. Willa's heart pounded. You don't need to say anything now, he continued quickly. I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know. Where I stand, I care for you, and Tommy, deeply. And I'll wait, as long as necessary. If there's any chance, you might someday feel the same. Willa looked down at Tommy. He'd fallen asleep. When she raised her eyes to Wade, they were shining. I do feel the same, she admitted, quietly. It happened so quickly, so unexpectedly. I've been afraid to trust it, afraid. It was just gratitude, or loneliness, hope. It dawned in Wade's eyes. And now, I know it's more than that, Willa said, with certainty. I care for you, Wade, not just because you saved us, or because you've been so kind, but because of the man you are, honorable, gentle, strong. Wade leaned forward. His expression was intense. I want to court you properly, Willa. No rush, no pressure. We can take all the time you need. Willa smiled. Her heart was full. I would like that very much. The relief, the joy. It crossed Wade's face. He looked years younger. May I call on you tomorrow evening, then, after your first day of teaching? Yes, Willa replied. Happiness bubbled up. Though, I warn you, I may be exhausted from wrangling 20 young children. Wade chuckled, a warm, rich sound. I'll bring supper. You'll have enough to manage. As the evening ended, Wade paused at the door, hat in his hands. Are you sure? You'll be comfortable? Here? Alone tonight? I could stay in the barn, if you'd feel safer. The offer, it touched her, but she shook her head. We'll be fine. The door has a good, strong lock, and I have Martha's old shotgun that you showed me how to use. Wade nodded. He still looked concerned. I'm just a mile away, if you need anything. Anything at all. I know, Willa said softly. Thank you. They stood there, in the lamplight. The air was charged. Then, slowly, giving her every chance to step away. Wade leaned down. He pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. Good night, Willa, he murmured. Sleep well. Good night, Wade, she replied. Her voice was unsteady. After he left, Willa stood in the doorway for a long time, watching his figure disappear into the darkness. Tommy sleeping in her arms. The future. It wasn't a frightening, empty void. It sparkled, like the stars that now filled the Wyoming sky. Spring arrived, capricious. One day warm sun, the next icy winds. Willa settled into her new life. Teaching. It was rewarding. The Timber Creek community, so supportive. She and Mrs. Henderson divided the students. Willa took the younger ones. She arranged for Mabel to watch Tommy during school hours. It worked. Tommy received loving attention. Mabel enjoyed the company. And Willa, she could teach. And then, there was Wade. He called on her, properly. He brought small gifts, wildflowers, a book of poetry, ordered from Denver, a hand-carved rattle for Tommy. Their courtship. It was slow, steady. Each meeting deepened their connection. By late April, Wade was a fixture at the cabin. He'd stay for supper. They would sit by the fire, sometimes talking for hours, sometimes just in comfortable silence. One evening in early May, Wade arrived. He was early. Willa was hanging the laundry. You're early, she called, smiling. I am, Wade agreed. He hitched his horse. I was hoping to catch you before you started supper. There was something different, a nervous energy. He was carrying a small package. Is everything all right? Willa asked. Everything's fine, he assured her. Better than fine. I was hoping we might take a walk, if Tommy is settled. He's napping, Willa said. Curious. He should sleep for an hour at least. Perfect, Wade said. He offered his arm. There's something I want to show you. Intrigued, Willa took his arm. Lead on, Mr. Zimmerman. They walked, following a path up a small rise. It overlooked both properties, Martha's, and the vast expanse of the Double Z. When they reached the top, Wade stopped. The view, it was spectacular. Rolling hills, wildflowers, the creek. It's beautiful, Willa breathed. It is, Wade agreed. But when she turned, he was watching her, not the view. This is one of my favorite places, he said. I come here to think, to remember why. All the hard work is worth it. I can see why, Willa said. It's peaceful. Wade nodded. He gestured to a flat boulder. Shall we sit? Once they were seated, Wade clasped his hands. I've been thinking a lot lately, he began. About the future, about what matters most. Willa's heart. It began to beat faster. Wade? He turned to face her. His eyes were intense. When I found you, and Tommy, that night, in the blizzard, I had no idea how completely you would change my life. I thought I was content. I had my ranch, my work, but I know now. I was just existing, not truly living. Willa's breath caught. Wade, please. He shook his head slightly. Let me finish, or I may lose my nerve. Willa nodded. These past few months, with you, with Tommy, they've shown me what life can be, should be, full of purpose, yes, but also full of joy and connection. He paused. And love. The word, it just hung in the air. I love you, Willa, he continued. His voice was steady. I think I began falling in love with you. That very first night, when you trusted me with your son. Everything since has only deepened those feelings. Tears welled in Willa's eyes. I love you too, she whispered. I've been so afraid. Afraid to say it. Afraid. It was too soon. Afraid to trust in happiness again. But I do. I love you, Wade, with all my heart. Relief. Joy. It transformed his face. He reached for her hand. I know it hasn't been long, he said. But I also know what we found. It's rare and precious. He released her hand. He retrieved the small package. This was my mother's, he explained. He unwrapped the paper, a small velvet box. Willa's heart was pounding. Wade opened it, a delicate gold ring, a small diamond, 2 sapphires. Willa Knight, Wade said. His voice was husky. Would you do me the extraordinary honor of becoming my wife? Of allowing me to be a father to Tommy and, God willing, to the other children we might have? Will you let me spend the rest of my days trying to make you as happy as you've made me? Tears, they spilled down Willa's cheeks. She nodded, too overcome to speak. Yes, she finally managed. Yes, Wade, I will marry you. With hands that trembled, Wade slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. It suits you, he said softly. It's beautiful, Willa replied. Then she looked up at him. I never thought I would find love again after Jacob. I thought that part of my life was over. I was resigned to focusing on Tommy, on just surviving. And now, Wade prompted gently. Now, I know that life can offer second chances, Willa said. That it's possible to honor what was lost while embracing what's been found. Wade's eyes shone. He leaned forward. One hand came up to cup her cheek. May I kiss you, Willa? Please, she breathed. Their first kiss. It was gentle, tentative, a question and an answer. When they pulled apart, Wade rested his forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that, he confessed, since the day I showed you Martha's cabin. Willa smiled. I'm glad you waited. This moment is perfect. They sat there, talking of the future, plans, dreams. When would you like to be married? Wade asked. Soon, Willa replied. Without hesitation. I don't see any reason to wait. Do you? Wade's smile was answer enough. The second Saturday in June, he suggested. That gives us just over a month, and it's after the spring roundup. The second Saturday in June, Willa agreed. She squeezed his hand. I can't think of anything I want more. The news spread through Timber Creek like wildfire, and it was met with universal delight. Mabel declared she'd known it from the start. The ladies of the town, they immediately began planning a proper celebration. Mrs. Henderson offered the schoolhouse for the ceremony. The weeks flew by. Willa continued teaching. The term ended just days before the wedding. She sewed a new dress, fine blue silk. Wade had ordered it from Denver. She refused to marry in black. He wouldn't have wanted me to spend my life in grief, she told Mabel. Jacob, he would want Tommy and me to be happy. And are you? Mabel asked. Truly happy, Willa confessed. More than I ever thought possible. Wade, he's everything I didn't know I was looking for. Mabel nodded. I've known that boy since he was 20. I've watched him work himself to the bone, build that ranch. But I've never seen him truly happy, not until you and Tommy came into his life. The day before the wedding, Wade brought Willa and Tommy to the Double Z, to the ranch house. Willa, she was surprised. It was a house, a substantial 2-story log house, a wide porch. Wade, she gasped, it's beautiful. He looked pleased and embarrassed. It's bigger than I need. My father, he built it with a large family in mind. Inside, it was functional, but sparse. A large kitchen, a dining room, a sitting room. Upstairs, several bedrooms. The master bedroom, he said, awkwardly. This room was different. A newly made bed, a colorful quilt, curtains, a vase of fresh wildflowers. It's lovely, Willa said, touched by his effort. I thought, Wade began. He cleared his throat. I thought, perhaps, you, Tommy, and I could live here if you'd like. The cabin, it could be for guests, or for when you need to be closer to town for teaching. Willa looked around the spacious room, then back at Wade. You want us to live here? Together? Only if you want to, he said quickly. I know, it's farther from town, and it would need a woman's touch. Willa cut off his nervous words with a kiss, balancing Tommy on one hip. It's perfect, she said. A home for all of us. Relief, happiness. I was hoping you'd feel that way, he said. I have a surprise too. Would you like to see it? Willa followed him to a small room off the back of the house. He opened the door. Willa gasped. A nursery, a beautifully crafted wooden crib, a changing table, a rocking chair. Wade, she whispered. Tears filled her eyes. When did you do all this? Over the past few weeks, he admitted. I wanted it to be ready, for you and Tommy, after the wedding. It's wonderful, Willa said. She moved. She placed a sleeping Tommy in the crib. He settled immediately. He approves, she said, smiling. She turned back to Wade, the look on his face. Hope. Love. It made her heart swell. I love you, she said simply. And tomorrow can't come soon enough. The second Saturday in June, clear, warm, a perfect Wyoming day. The schoolhouse was transformed, wildflowers, ribbons. In the small office Willa prepared, Mabel and Mrs. Henderson fussed over her. Her blue silk dress, simple, elegant. You look absolutely beautiful, Mabel declared. Wade won't know what hit him. Willa laughed, nerves, joy. I can hardly believe this is happening. 6 months ago. I was a destitute widow. No home, no prospects. And now, Mrs. Henderson finished, you're about to marry one of the finest men in the territory. A knock, Dr. Porter. He was giving her away. It's time, ladies. The groom is getting anxious. Mabel handed Willa her bouquet. Ready. Willa took a deep breath. Ready. The schoolroom was full. The entire town. The doors opened. Willa stepped in, and all conversation ceased. Willa saw only Wade, standing at the front, tall, handsome, a new black suit, a blue vest, the look on his face. Awe, adoration. It was a look she would remember forever. In the front row, Mabel held Tommy. He was dressed in a tiny white shirt. Judge Wilson smiled. Dr. Porter placed Willa's hand in Wade's. The ceremony was simple, meaningful. They had written their own vows, to love, to honor, to cherish. They exchanged rings, Wade's mother's ring for Willa, a simple gold band for Wade. By the authority vested in me, Judge Wilson proclaimed, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Mr. Zimmerman, you may kiss your bride. The room erupted. Cheers. Applause. Wade took Willa in his arms, their first kiss as husband and wife. They parted, both laughing, giddy with joy. The celebration. It continued all evening. Tables outside, a feast, music, dancing. As the sun began to set, Wade found Willa. She was sitting with Tommy. "Mrs. Zimmerman," he said, a smile that made her heart skip. "May I have this dance?" "You may, Mr. Zimmerman," she replied. She carefully transferred Tommy to Mabel. "Though, I should warn you, it's been quite some time." "That makes two of us," Wade confessed. He led her to the dance area. The fiddle played, a slow, sweet melody. Wade held her close. They moved together, as if they'd been dancing for years, a natural harmony. "Happy?" Wade asked softly. "Completely," Willa replied, resting her head against his chest. "Are you?" "More than I ever imagined possible," he assured her. "I keep thinking I'll wake up, that blizzard, finding you, everything." Willa leaned back. She looked into his eyes. Joy. Reflected. "It's no dream, Wade. This is real. We're real." His smile was answer enough. Later that night, the celebration was over. They were home, at the ranch house. They stood on the porch, watching the stars. "I never thanked you properly," Willa said suddenly. "For what?" "For that night, in the blizzard. For taking Tommy when he was crying. For keeping him warm when I couldn't." She looked at him. "You saved his life, Wade. You saved both our lives." Wade's expression softened. "I remember how frightened you looked, how reluctant you were to hand him over to a stranger. But you did it because you knew it was his best chance." "I had no choice," Willa admitted. "But, looking back, I think some part of me recognized even then that you were someone I could trust, that you would protect what was precious to me." Wade reached out. He touched her face, his calloused palm gentle against her cheek. "I will always protect what's precious to you, Willa. Always." The promise, it wrapped around her heart. Willa Knight Zimmerman. She felt a sense of peace, of rightness, life. It would bring challenges. But facing them together, with this man, they would build a life, and it had all begun on a cold winter night, with a baby crying in the cold, and a cowboy who had said, "Give him here, I'll keep him warm." 5 years later, the Double Z Ranch was bustling. Willa watched from the porch. Wade was teaching 5-year-old Tommy to throw a lasso. The boy's face, scrunched in concentration. "That's it, son," Wade encouraged. "Keep your wrist loose." Tommy's next throw. It sailed. It landed. Perfectly. Around the fence post. "Mama, did you see?" Tommy whooped. "I did it." "I saw," Willa called back. She shifted the toddler in her arms. "Well done." 2-year-old Sarah blinked sleepily. Her father's blue eyes, her mother's brown curls. "One more try," Wade said, ruffling Tommy's hair. "Then we wash up. Grandma and Grandpa Zimmerman will be here soon." Wade had formally adopted Tommy shortly after their first anniversary, though the boy had called him Pa almost from the beginning. As Wade and Tommy headed for the house, Willa rose. The porch, once bare, was now a home. "Successful lesson?" she asked. "Very," Wade confirmed. He leaned down. He kissed her softly. "He's a natural. Give him a few more years. He'll be running this ranch without me." "Never," Willa smiled. "This place wouldn't be the same without you." Wade's arm slipped around her waist. He looked at the sleeping toddler. "How's our little dreamer?" "Finally napping," Willa replied. "She's as stubborn as her father." "Determined," Wade corrected with a grin. Willa had continued teaching until Sarah's birth. For now, she was content. "I'll put Sarah in her crib," Willa said. A wagon. She could hear it. That must be your parents. Wade nodded. He headed down the steps. Willa watched him go. 5 years, and the sight of him still made her heart beat faster. Inside, Willa laid Sarah in her crib, the same one Wade had restored. The nursery had been expanded. And another cradle waited in the corner, ready for the newest Zimmerman. Expected, in early winter. Willa rested her hand on her still flat stomach. A secret smile. She hadn't told Wade. Not yet. She wanted to surprise him. Tonight. Downstairs, she could hear the happy greetings. Tommy's excited voice. The sound of her family. It filled her with a contentment so complete. It almost hurt. There were still days when she marveled at the turn her life had taken, when she looked at all she had, a loving husband, beautiful children, a home, a gratitude so profound. It brought tears to her eyes. "Willa," Wade's voice called up the stairs. "You coming down? My mother's dying to see you." "Coming," she called back. She gave Sarah one last look. As she descended the stairs, she thought of that desperate, half-frozen widow. How far she had come, how much light, how much love had entered her life, all from a simple act of kindness, all from a man who had seen a baby crying in the cold and done the only thing that mattered. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales of survival, hope, and the wild frontier. And let me know in the comments, what was the one moment that changed everything for Willa?